Did you guys know that there's a connection between insulin resistance and PCOS? Because I have been learning so much more about insulin resistance lately, and this is one of those things I thought, how are more women not talking about this, especially younger women who are having fertility issues or infertility issues? Most of us hear PCOS and we immediately think it's a reproductive or a hormone issue, and technically it is. But there's also a metabolic side to PCOS too. And that's the part that I didn't really understand until recently. A lot of women with PCOS actually have insulin resistance because their cells aren't responding to insulin as well as they should, so their body may be compensating by producing more insulin. We've been talking about that. And this is where it gets pretty interesting. Higher levels of insulin can actually affect the ovaries and contribute to an increased production of androgens or hormones like testosterone. And that can play a role in some of the symptoms women are dealing with on a daily basis with PCOS, like irregular or missed periods, acne, facial and body hair, thinning hair on the scalp, gaining weight or difficulty managing your weight, problems with ovulation. And I also learned something else that I think is really important for people to understand. You do not have to be overweight to have PCOS or insulin resistance. I think sometimes we have this picture in our head of what somebody with insulin resistance is supposed to look like, and that's just not how it works. A woman can be thin and very active and still have PCOS. And think back to what we talked about in my last video. Your fasting glucose, A1C, and fasting insulin are not the same thing. So someone could be looking at their glucose and thinking everything looks okay without actually knowing what their fasting insulin is. Now, this doesn't mean that insulin resistance causes every case of PCOS. PCOS is complicated and there are multiple things involved. But the connection between PCOS and insulin resistance is absolutely worth understanding and learning more about. Because PCOS isn't just about your periods, acne, or unwanted hair. There's a metabolic component that can matter for the long-term health as well, because I've been talking about that forever. This is what really hit home for me because I dealt with infertility issues, the ovulation and fertility. When PCOS interferes with regular ovulation, it actually can make getting pregnant more difficult. And that is going to have its own separate conversation. I'm going to be talking about that next. So if you know a woman with PCOS, please send her this video. And if you're wondering whether insulin resistance could be a part of your own story, just comment insulin below or send me a direct message. And follow along because apparently insulin resistance has been sticking its nose into a whole lot more of the body than I ever realized.